So, hi everyone, and welcome to the sixth Housing Repairs online show and share from Newark and Sherwood District Council. Before I share with you what we're going to cover today, just a quick reminder why we do these show and shares. Next slide, please. They're an opportunity for the team to celebrate what we've achieved, demo any work in software, and provide information on progress made. And most importantly, it's an opportunity for you, our collaborators and supporters, to give us feedback and ask questions that you may have. Next slide. So what we're going to cover today? Well, in a moment, I'll remind you of who is in the core team, share our vision, and then we'll see a recorded session from Mike Knight, our interaction designer, who will take you through all the design changes that have been made to the prototype since the start of the phase until now. I'll then give a quick recap of progress made in the current sprint and our focus for the next, before handing over to Christian McIntosh, our product owner, who will tell you how you can engage with the project. And then we'll have time at the end for you to ask any questions that you may have or provide us with any feedback. So who is in the core team? Well, as I said, we have Christian McIntosh, our product owner from Newark and Sherwood, myself, Paul Clemson, I'm the lead delivery manager from Maytech, Bhavesh Patel, lead engineer from Maytech, Dave Richardson, who is the ICT and digital service businesses manager from Newark and Sherwood, Sonia Lois, who is a digital systems analyst from Newark and Sherwood, Rene Vajojo, who is an engineer from Maytech, Mel Crook, our user researcher from Maytech, Steve Turner, our solutions developer from Newark and Sherwood, Mesa Canoni, engineer from Maytech, Andrew Dobby, who's also a digital systems analyst from Newark and Sherwood, Mike Knight, our interaction designer from Maytech, Jamie Jordan, senior engineer from Maytech, and Mark Warner, also a senior engineer from Maytech. So what is our vision? Well, that's to build a reusable and accessible online reporting tool that requires no login, and most importantly, residents prefer to use as it meets their needs. A tool that is integratable with various scheduling systems through open, scalable, and accessible APIs, enabling a tool we hope to be adopted by local authorities across the UK. I'll now hand back to Kristen.
Well, this next part is actually a recording that Mike's made going through the prototype changes. So I'll just set this going.
Hello, I'm going to be showing you our prototype. We use this prototype to test with our users to gain insights into how they interact with the service. So I'm going to go through and talk about the changes we made, why we made those changes, and then how those changes tested with our users, how, how these changes were received. So this is the homepage of the prototype, and this will be available for you to view yourselves. I think Paul will have more about how you can request access later, but I'll give you a quick rundown of this page. So down the left here, we have different versions of the prototype, from linking MVP to the current version, and then all the steps in between. So you can go through and look at how the service has evolved. There's also links to the UX changes, which lists some of the changes and why they were done. And then on the right here, we have this individual page drop down, and this lists direct links to specific pages in the latest version, so you don't have to go through the whole journey to view specific pages. So what I'm going to do now is on each side of my screen, I'm going to have a version. So on the left hand side, I'm going to have version 1. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to have the current version. So that we can see both of these at the same time and see the changes and make that sort of direct comparison. So on the start page here, the biggest change that you'll notice straight away is the styling. We've added the Newark and Sherwood District Council styling, and that's continued throughout the service. So let's focus on the left-hand side for a second. So during the testing of this, we found that users weren't really sure what it was we were asking them to do. There were a lot of these warning components, multiple links off, and kind of just a lot of noise on this page. So we wanted to reduce the cognitive load on for the user, strip it back, and make it more simple. So we did this by putting everything under their own headers, stripping the content right back, and making a cleaner start page for our users. With that Start Now button being higher, also increases the chances of that being above the fold. Now button, we get this first page. Now we can see kind of quite quickly again changes. So here we've got a change in the heading in the question. So on the left hand side there in version 1, we've got please select one of the below. In the current, we updated that to say what is the problem you're reporting. Now that's really to just try and add a bit more context to this page to help the user understand exactly what it is that we're asking them. Now, if we go in and select I can smell gas in or near the property, we'll get to these gas warning pages. Not much has changed here, but one thing that we did do is try and draw more attention to the action on this page. So the action on this page is really to phone this emergency number. So we just added this visual element to try and aid users into finding that. So let's go back real quick for an emergency one. And when we come into the emergency page, you'll see that we have a very similar visually distinct element in that inset text there. Again, the same thing to try and draw attention to that. One other thing that we'll see there down there at the bottom is that new link, my problem is not an emergency. Now, one thing that we did see when we were going through testing on this page is a lot of users would select one of these. Let's say, for example, they had the task they were given was to report a problem with their tap. They would say, well, you know, I have removed, I've stopped the water because I've got a problem with my tap, so I now have no water in the property. They would continue through to here, and they would say, well, it's not an emergency, but they then wouldn't know how to proceed. So what we did was we added this, my problem is not an emergency link, and that tested really, really well with users. We saw that all the users who went through to these pages were then able to continue through the journey based off of that link. So that link just takes them back into the journey. Now, you may ask, well, you know, if you were seeing users selecting the wrong thing on here, maybe we should be proactive rather than reactive. But these questions are really important because it's very important that we understand, or the user understands, that it's an emergency repair as early as possible. So if the user selects something else, they go through to this question. Is the problem in a communal area? Same place that they would go to if they selected my problem is not an emergency. So on this page, we have some more changes that you'll see. What we've done is, on the original version, we had this hint text or help for the user about what a communal area is, and you see that you can open and close that. The issues with it sort of being down here, well, the twofold really. If you have a user who uses a magnified screen, you may miss that underneath. You may not scroll past beyond the green button because your expectation isn't for there to be anything below there. And also twofold, that this has been tested and it appears on various different government services, and there is some research that supports that some users just don't understand that you can click into this. So let's move away from that details component and include it here above sort of the user's answers and in a hint text, and condense it a little bit to kind of fit into there. So tested really well with users. Nobody got stuck on this and understood what a communal area was. So if a problem is in a communal area, there was a block page here. This service now has communal area reporting, so I'll show you that afterwards. But let's assume for now that it's no. So we can continue into here. Now you'll see this is probably the first journey change. We now have the question, do you pay rent to the council? And this is to understand if the repair is on a leasehold property or no. We now include the ability to report repairs on leasehold properties. So this was a question that we added. Now there was obviously discussions around how we ask this question. You know, is your property a leasehold property, or however it may be worded? But there was concern that some users may not understand what a leasehold property is, so we didn't want to create that blocker here. So we've gone with, do you pay rent to the council? as a way of understanding whether it's leasehold or no. So if you select yes, then it's not leasehold. If you select no, then it is leasehold. So now we can make that assumption that it's not leasehold, so we can continue to the journey. So yes, I do pay rent to the council. What is the property postcode? Again, now you'll see changes straight away. What we've done here is just reduce the content on the page, so duplicated content. So we've got here what is the property postcode, and then underneath you've got postcode and then your input. Here we've just associated the input with the question, so what is the property postcode for the user to enter there. So if we go and put one in, we bring up this next page. Few changes on this page. One is on the heading. We've just turned it in more into a question. So what is the property address, rather than just select an address. A little bit more bit more content and more specifically. We repeated the postcode back to the user. So if there isn't, for whatever reason, if there isn't their address here and the reason is that the postcode is wrong, we're also showing that back to the user so they could go back and change that. And then also just a little wording change around I can't find my address on the list to my address is not listed. And that's really just around taking the onus off of the user, taking the blame off the user. I can't find as opposed to it's not listed. So in that page we can go into, again, small change, just posting the postcode back to the user. And then we've removed this leaseholder information because we now do leaseholders. Let's go back. Oh, that broke. Let's pretend that didn't happen. So this is old version, don't worry about it. So we select our address, continue, and now we see these exactly the same. These triage steps have tested really well with users. I guess the change that we've created from Lincoln is that Newingtonshire District Council have different triage steps, so just sort of adding those, but these went through testing and these have tested well. So there are also pages that are called kind of end pages. So that's if the report they need to contact the council for it, or if it's an emergency. So if we take a look here, your repair could be an emergency, and that's the same emergency page that you saw earlier, just without that link at the bottom. And then there's contact us. Perfect. You need to contact us to report this repair, and just information there. So we did test those, and those again tested really well with the users. So they sort of were aware of what it was that we were asking them to do at that point. So let's continue through these triage steps until we get to this describe your problem in more detail page. So a few sort of small changes on here and one big change on here. So a few kind of content changes where we've removed please, so please report only one problem, or please describe. Change that to try to include and only report one problem. The reason for that is please kind of implies a choice, whereas we're a lot more kind of definitive in only report one problem at a time. And then you'll also see down here this upload a photo, or maybe you didn't see this down here because in user research this is the problem that we found. Some users weren't seeing this upload a photo question down here. Now, speaking with those users and also speaking with the council, we kind of understood that actually a photo can be really important to help triage a repair. Speaking to users who have reported a repair, they said on occasion the repair person may come out and the first visit is literally just looking at it and being like, okay, this is what I need to do. So a picture can really help with the speed of repairs. So what we've done is pop some information in here. So what we've done is brought it out onto its own separate page. So now we have uploaded an image of the problem and then a bit of hint text to say that they do not have to. And this is also optional. We didn't want to create a blocker for users who may not have an image. Maybe it's just not a repair that requires an image. And maybe they're doing it on desktop and they don't have a photo. So really we just wanted to make sure that they could get through and would not be blocked. So this is optional, and we saw in testing that users understood this was optional and could continue through. So now another change that you'll see straight away these are two complete different questions. And that's right, we've changed the ordering of this question around a little bit. And that's really just to try and create a better user experience, a more natural user experience. So previously in the old version, we would ask what number should we call? So let's pop in a number here. And then how should we confirm the appointment? Now, we haven't yet asked them about an appointment, so it kind of seemed a bit wrong to do it this way around. And we went with book the appointment first and then ask how we should confirm the appointment. Now, I'm just going to go back and, well, let's go through to here actually. Let's pop in, let's go through this journey first, right? So what number should we call if we need to get in touch? So users popped in their number. How should we confirm the appointment? Text message. And what we found in testing was users were asking, well, I've just entered my number. Why do I have to enter it again? Which is a fair point. But that's what they had to do in the old version to get through. And then they got to this book a repair appointment. So first I'm going to talk about this page, and then I'm going to talk about the numbers on the new service. So here, obviously, we can see changes again. The change to the heading, the question, when are you available? What we found was users were trying to select all the dates that they are available. So I can do here, I can do here, and then being a bit confused that they couldn't just select multiple. Change that to book a repair appointment. It's a lot more familiar to them that this is your appointment. You book a specific time. And then also removing this please select a suitable time slot. Obviously I spoke about please before, but also it's kind of implicit. I don't think that we need that bit of content there, and reducing content is always good, assuming that there's still context to the page. Cool, so that's the changes on these ones. So let's now go through, let's pretend we'll go back to here, and on this version we'll go through the journey. So now we've got, first of all, we've got how should we confirm the appointment. So remember on the last one we had what number should we call, then how should we confirm. We've switched those as well. So how should we confirm the appointment? Now, if the user does an email, let's say, continues, then we get this what number should we call if we need to get in touch page. But if the user selects a text message and puts in a number, the next page is can we call, and then the user inputted number, if we need to get in touch. And they can select yes, but then also they can select no, and it will ask them for another number. So some users said that they didn't want to receive phone calls on their mobile, they wanted it on the landline. So we have put this in here, like that. So let's go through. And that's it. Let me just click yes here. Then we return the user's inputted data to them on these summary pages. I don't think there's any real changes to this, but just a little one down here with just the wording changes. Continue is the wording that we've used sort of throughout, but this was kind of the last step. So just a quick change to request a repair, kind of a definitive action of requesting that repair. And then we have the sort of confirmation page with the repair number and confirmation. So this is a little problem here because I entered an email and number. Obviously that's it's a bit of a strange journey because I went back to show you, so it's posted them both, but this would be either email or number. Information about to change or cancel, they need to provide that. And then what happens next? So a few little content changes on there. And that's kind of the changes that we've done through that initial tenant repair journey. So I mentioned before about how now we've also built in extra functionality of reporting leaseholder repairs, communal repairs, and also being able to change or cancel your appointment. So let's take a look at change or cancelling your repair appointment. So there's a link down here at the bottom of this start page. And also, I think that the idea is also to have a link on the Newark and Sherwood homepage as well. So they can get to it from those two different ways, but this is how it works. You have this here to find your repair appointment. It asks for your repair number and also your postcode. So if you pop in the repair number, let's say it's that, and your postcode, you can search for it and it will bring it up. So it will bring up your repair appointment there and giving you some information about it. And that was important because users could have multiple repairs all reported at the same time. And we wanted to make sure that you're not cancelling or changing the wrong one. And then the question about what you would like to do, so change or cancel. So you can click change there and it will take you to your repair appointment, and you can book a new time and continue. Your repair appointment has been changed. So it changes it and reads it back, that kind of date that you've changed it to, and then also sends a confirmation to the whichever you entered at the time. So we did maybe let's say another one. And then I wanted to cancel this one. Click cancel. It gives me this page just as like a are you sure kind of thing. If you select yes, then that's it. Repair is cancelled. And we tested that, and it tested really well with users. Users were commenting how easy it was and all sort of positive feedback on there. Okay, so now let's take a look through communal repair. So if we start now, go through to something else. Is the problem in a communal area? User can select yes, and it will take them to the postcode page. They can pop in their postcode, and then it will bring up here, and you can see that now we've got kind of communal repair addresses. Continue through, and there's this new page. So problems reported at this address. Now, this page will show if there are problems reported at this address. This page will not show if there are no problems reported at this address. So this specific page has been through a few iterations actually. So we had the first iteration. Let's show you, which looks like this. So you can see that it just listed the location, the problem, and then this view details link. So what we were finding during testing is that users would come to here, and let's say it was an extractor fan was the problem. So they say, okay, view details, and then it would say sockets down here, and well, that's not it. And that would be it. They would just say, well, that's not it, and then they wouldn't know what to do. So we made changes. Let's have a look at that before. We made changes. So we pulled out that information. We didn't hide that information after that view details link. We brought it to this page. So we had where's the problem, what best describes the problem, and then specific area, which is what the user entered in the area question. Which you'll see in a bit. Actually, you've not seen that yet. That's in the communal journey. But this is also vetted by Newark Sherwood staff, so it's sort of moderated, if you like. But we still kind of saw some problems. Some more people did get it, but we did still see some people saying, oh, it's electrical, no, it's not socket, and then sort of not really being very sure about what was going on. So let's go back to the current. So this was on the third iteration. We're just adding a bit more content to this page to try and explain what it is that we were showing users. So here we've got these are current open repair requests reported at this address. If the repair you want to report is listed, you do not need to do anything. And then down here the problem is not listed. We gave it a title and the button here, and that's what we've sort of done to that page there. So go through and report a new problem, assuming it's not listed. And then we see the triage steps are different. There's less options, and these are the ones that are specific for communal. So let's go through here. Again, some of these are specific, some of these are not. Great. So now we get to the describe your problem in more detail page, and you'll see the problem area. They've got an extra question here. So where is the problem? Let's have a look at an old version of this, because this was something else that we iterated on based off of user research. So if I go to the previous version, obviously it was one before that, see that we had location of problem, enter the specific location. Now users, I think, were getting confused about the word location, and we're thinking more on address. So I've given you my location already, it's the address. or repeating the address in this box. They just really weren't understanding what it was that we were asking, and sort of looking at Mel to be like, what is it that you're asking me here? So we knew something had to change here. So the change that we made was to change that wording to where is the problem, tell us exactly where in the area, and then putting in this user inputted data. So this is the first option, so communal area, kitchen or outside, into the hint text to really kind of help them understand what it is that we're asking. And this tested a lot better, and users understood what it was that we were asking them now. And then we have description of problem, as we do in the tenant journey. So next, exactly the same, and that's there. Then these pages are the same, but slightly different. The hint text is slightly different because there's different things that we do. So here, for example, in the tenant version, we had this will contain a reference number, which you'll need if you want to cancel or change. Whereas here they can't do that as a communal. So we just have that kind of, maybe if we need an update. Cool. So let's say we go through here, exactly the same kind of as it was before. Can we call? Yes. And then now one change obviously is that we don't give them a time to select to book an appointment. What does happen with communal is it's the first available appointment, and if they go through and request that repair, we see that content is changed as well. That will assess, request, and repair will be scheduled within the next 30 days, and that changes depending on the repair type. So that was a communal repair, and that's how they report those. So now we just have leasehold repairs to do. Now leasehold repairs are not much different from tenant repairs really. So I'm not going to probably go through the whole journey, but I'll start it. So is the problem in a communal area? No, it is not. Do you pay rent to the council? No, I do not. So it's a leasehold. And then what is the property postcode? Exactly the same as tenant repair. Exactly the same. And then these are the only difference. Again, the triage is a difference because obviously the council isn't responsible for the same repairs for a leasehold property. So that's it. You just have different options on leasehold. Other than that, it's all the same functions. So hopefully that gives you a kind of an understanding of the changes we've made and why we've made those changes. As I said, I think the link to this will be shared, and you all can go on and play around with it. But thank you very much for listening to me today.
Okay, so that's the recorded session that we had from Mike Knight, our interaction designer. And if you've got any questions, if you leave those to the end, we do have Mel Crook, our user researcher, on the call today, and Mel and the wider team will be able to answer any questions that you have, and also if you've got any feedback. So in terms of progress made in this sprint, as you've seen, we've conducted our final round of user research as well as the final user research analysis. And those key findings were incorporated into the final version of the prototype. We also produced a user research summary report for this entire phase. We conducted an accessibility assessment and identified changes needed for the service to be a standard compliant, and we started to apply those changes. We also implemented Key Vault to improve security, and we commenced adding validation to pages so that users get an error message when they don't select an option or enter data or information when required before continuing. And finally, we prepared an Azure blob storage container for address data. So what will be our focus for the next sprint? Or to complete those accessibility changes as well as the page validation, we're going to set up GovNotify for the MVP service, which will go live next month for the tenant repair journey. We'll upgrade our APIs from .NET 5 to 6 for improved performance and security. We'll create an Azure function to read data and insert address data from the Capita housing management system into a database. And subsequently, we'll set up our housing management API to pull that address data from a database so that users can select an address in the service. I'll now hand over to Christian to tell you how you can engage with the project.
So as you can see, we do have a website. If you want information or to relook at some of our older blogs and show and shares, they are all available on the website. And as mentioned today as well, obviously we now have a prototype that we would really like more people to have a look at. So if you want information on that, there will be information on the website, but basically if you can message me, we will send you the link and the password to get into it. And we'd really love to get some extra feedback in the next couple of weeks. Send us your ideas, because we're already looking at what do we need to do next, what additional functionality do other people need. Obviously, a lot of things have been user research, so actually some bits like question wordings, we may not be able to do everything that you're suggesting, because actually some of these have already been tested, but we'd love to hear what you think, because actually it might be something that if we then find it doesn't work so well, that we actually can incorporate, and also for new things, it gives us our direction of, well, what actually else is needed, what else do we need in order to make the journey through this as smooth as possible and provide what's needed, especially in the back end for staff to process things through and for the systems to process things through, as well as making the user experience really good. So do get in touch with us. I'll say I should put details on the blog certainly in the next couple of days or so, and when we've got the recording shared, and you can just request the link and the password, and we'll send that through to you. Ideally, especially due to leave, I'd say if you can request that by the 30th of August, which is our next show and share, and ideally provide us feedback by then, that would be brilliant. But in some ways, if you've got extra feedback after that, that's fine. But we'll be doing a bit of collation around that point, just to give you an idea of when we're looking at that. I think that's it from me on that one for the moment. So I think we're now on to questions.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions for the team or any feedback on what you've seen today? You can put your questions in the chat if you feel more comfortable doing that, or you can unmute yourself.
Not a question, but it is looking really, really good. So excited to get on and give it a whirl.
Thank you, Claire. Jamie, you have your hand up.
Morning. Yep. Firstly, thank you for the invite. Looks absolutely stunning. Yeah, would really appreciate access to the demo. Actually, that'd be brilliant. Thank you. I haven't been to the show and tells before this, so I'm a little bit new to the subject. But one fairly specific question, because we're doing something similar with Countertax in Greenwich. I'd ask if the phrase "get in touch" was user tested, because that's British idiom, of course, and it's a phrase that we're looking at as well, ironically. One that isn't readily understood by people whose first language isn't British, of course. But yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. Hearing about the level of detail in general that's gone into the consideration of each question is really heartwarming. So yeah, just wanted to add to that.
We do have Mel, our user researcher, on the call. So Mel, was that tested, that wording?
I can't say that wording in particular was tested. And if anything, if it is somewhere in the prototype, I think it is somewhere near the end. No one really said anything about it. So that's probably not the answer you were hoping for. But yeah.
No, cheers, Mel. Thank you. Yeah, no, good to know. Like I said, it's a phrase we're toying with as well, because it's not literal, is it? But it's readily understood by a good many people. We're trying to work out how much of a problem that would be. But thank you.
But also, thank you for that insight, Jamie. And it's something we need to consider. Okay. Any further questions or feedback? No. Okay, so if there's no further questions or feedback, then thank you everyone for joining us today. Hopefully you enjoyed the session, and we'll see you all again in 2 weeks' time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.